Good evening, and you're very welcome to another episode of the League of Ireland Women's podcast here on finalwhistle.ie with myself, Breifne Early, and Aaron. You've changed. Oh no, wait, it's not Aaron. Aaron can't be with us this week, but I'm joined by former Irish international, more than 50 caps, I think 55 or 56 caps. I could be doing you out of one or two there as well, Maeve.
54, I think, is the latest count. 52 when I finished, 54 since then.
You got added 2 extra somewhere along the line that you didn't realize you'd played in. So Maeve joins us this week to have a look back at all the action from the weekend, as well as a little preview of the weekend's action. We look forward maybe to the cup final, and also a look at the international selection next week, the squad to be announced by Carla Ward next Wednesday ahead of that doubleheader against Belgium. So we'll talk about playing that later on. But Maeve, you were on duty at the weekend. You were in Greenogue for what looked like a really, really solid, albeit low-scoring game. It was end-to-end. Peamount, of course, hosting champions. I was going to say champions-elect, but they won the league the previous weekend at Athlone Town. But Peamount hadn't read the script and spoiled the party with a late winner from Eleanor Ryan Doyle. A great game. It looked great on the television. Your thoughts been at the game?
Yeah, Peamount were definitely well worth the win. Athlone had made a lot of changes before the game. They had the likes of, I think, Maddie Gibson, Roisin Malloy weren't even in the squad. I see them doing some running beforehand, before the match even started. So I think they completely changed. Not completely changed, but they made many changes, and I don't think they were the same team then without those key players, and it showed. And I think Peamount, for the most part, dominated. Really, they probably had the most chances, particularly in the second half. I think they really had lots of chances, and it just took a clinical finish from Eleanor Ryan Doyle. It was a great through ball into her, and she did well. Like, we know that the class that she has coming back into the league, and it was a great finish. And like I said, I think Peamount were deserving of the 3 points, but I don't think Athlone. I'd expect Athlone will probably revert back maybe to their starting 11 now next weekend, before the cup final to kind of. So it's always good, I think, to give other players a run who've been, I'm sure, instrumental in their training and throughout the year as well. So it's good experience for them to get involved on a competitive match day.
Yeah, no Hannah Weish either, who's been really impressive this season for them too. So, a lot of changes. I don't know. They have the League One. Now that they've lost the unbeaten record, there's not really a whole pile to play for against Sligo. They've got a really good record against the Bit of Red over the last few seasons. So you'd probably expect them to kind of give, again, a fairly changed side a run out, at least to start the game on Saturday at home, although it will be the league presentation, so they're not going to want to be beaten 2 weeks in a row and lift the league trophy. It'll have a very hollow kind of feel to that party. Well, it won't really, but it doesn't feel right when you lose the game and come off and lift the trophy.
No, exactly. I'm sure they'll want to put in a really good performance, and then like I said, just kind of have that celebratory feel even more so after a win as well. But it's hard to know what they'll do, because it's just a week out from the cup final, so I'm sure they'll watch any niggles, and then whether he'll decide to change it, mix it up, give young players a go, or whether he'll start his best 11 and start taking them off, or whether he'll end with his best 11 with a view to the cup final. That's I'm sure they'll decide what's best for them. But definitely it's good to have that kind of cushion where they're not needing the points, obviously. And I mean, in fairness, Bows are in a similar position too. It's not the games, unfortunately, for the kind of neutrals, the games at the end of the season now aren't worth a whole lot. So they can choose to use it how they want, with a view to obviously all eyes on the cup final then as well on the 19th of October.
Any major talking points out of the game at the weekend? Some really, really good saves from, I thought, Megan Plashko. Thought she had a really impressive performance.
Yeah, she was really good. She had got player the match the week before, and she was very close again, I think. She really, she did. She had a lot of saves, in fairness. Like I said, Peamount really threatened. They took a lot of long range shots as well. Peamount just weren't able to get them on target. I thought Maeve Doyle was really good, just pulling the strings there, really good. Obviously, I had played with her for years at Galway, so I know how good she can be with linking kind of the midfield to the attack, and definitely created a lot. And their younger players impressed as well. And it's good to see Peamount kind of have that conveyor belt coming through all the time. I think they obviously have the few experienced players in there as well. And they were without Karen Duggan at the weekend, but other than that, like they did still have some experience on the pitch too. Amanda Budden in goal didn't have a whole lot to do, but kind of dealt with anything that came her way at the same time.
In terms of, I suppose, Eleanor Ryan Doyle, she's come back in mid-season and had a huge impact for the Peas, and she did have the ball in the back of the net before she scored, ruled out for a fairly obvious offside, has to be said, but she looks lethal. If Peamount can keep her in the team for next year, if they can hold on to her, I think they could be back in a few places higher up the league table.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll have to maybe add to the squad if they're to compete right up at the top and challenge back again for the title. But you can see like they had a really good run of form. They've won 7 of their last 8 league games. So, I mean, if they started with that form, they'd be right up there. So, you know, who's to say that they won't just be up there even with the squad they have at the moment. But I think 1 or 2 players maybe might really boost the squad and keep the consistency, which we all know is what wins the league is to be consistent from start to finish. A lot of teams can go on a run of form too, but definitely I think really what was probably missing at the start of the season was just putting the ball in the back of the net. Even Emma addressed that before the game, just saying that seemed to be what kind of clicked for them now, is that they're scoring goals, and obviously that's one thing you need to win the league as well. So yeah, I think they're looking, I think, bright for next season, and I think they'll definitely be up there thereabouts for sure.
Well, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Athlone will be a bit annoyed that they've lost that game because they had an unblemished season. Okay, 4 draws, yeah, but like no defeats up to last weekend, and now that kind of 0 is gone from the league table in the loss column. What was your sense speaking to some of the team from both sides, I suppose, afterwards, in terms of how Athlone feel about that, or did it come up?
Yeah, I think it came up, but it showed from their team selection and even really their squad selection that a few of their best players weren't selected to be even on the bench. Just proved that, you know, before the game, they were never going to come on and try to change the game and try to get a point out of it. I don't think it was really in there. It just wasn't up there for them. Like they, like you said, the 0 did look good, and even in the column beside it, only having conceded single digits in goals too, which is now changed to 10. It just, obviously just from maybe it's the accountant in me that it makes it look, it made really good reading before that. But look, they don't, to be honest, they won't care like if they're invincible or not throughout a season, whether they're in next year's in European competition next year. That's the main thing, really, I think. And they've been, I think, very deserving of it from start to finish, like this season. I know we do talk about their attacking players a lot in their midfield, but their defence has been unbelievable, really. And they've had 2 keepers switched between the Cypriot international and Glasgow as well. So they've been kind of, I think Glasgow wasn't available for some of the games, and they've been well able. They've been keeping clean sheets, and they have a consistent back 4 too as well, which is, really good. The likes of Shine and McNally in centre mid, and then centre backs, and the 2 Brennans then on either side as well have been very solid, and they contribute to the attack as well, I think. But definitely that solid defensive foundation has really, I think, stood to them in terms of winning the league.
There's a name on the team sheet for Athlone that's impressed me over the last few weeks as I've seen more and more of her, and that's Izzy Ryan. She's probably the youngest player that's getting game time regularly with them, but she's done really, really well when she's impressed. Tell us a bit about her, and can we expect to see more of her in the future?
Yeah, I think she's been probably unlucky because she's predominantly playing on the wing, and Roisin Malloy and Maddie Gibson have those 2 spots sealed, I think, kind of a lot. And she's been more of a kind of just an impact player, really. But yeah, she was unlucky not to score the weekend. She hit the post, and she looked very, very threatening, and really just seemed to have an eye for goal. I think she's a really nice player to watch. But I think with time she'll probably get more game time, but it is tough when you're up against those kind of players. But then again, on the flip side, she gets to train with them every week as well. So, I'm sure she's learning every day and training too. So that's definitely important as a younger player coming through, but definitely one to watch for the future for sure.
1-0 the final score, but of course, I think Peamount hit the post 2 or maybe 3 times. Athlone hit it once, and the goal disallowed. It really had all the goalmouth action, just couldn't find the back of the net, which has probably summed up Peamount's season, really.
Yeah, that was it. Exactly. They just had loads of chances. I was in with TG Carr picking out the analysis bits, and it just was like I was add that to Peamount chances, because that's what the package was going to look like. It was just that's really what kind of the flow of the game was. But yeah, I mean, that's a really positive thing for them to take into next season is the fact they're creating those chances so many. And if you have the likes of Ryan Doyle, I think like I said, if she can stay injury free, that would be a big plus for them, because I know she has, after she's come back, she hasn't been always available. So if she can, she'll definitely be making a big impact again next season.
Let's move out west towards your neck of the woods. Galway at home to Waterford. Waterford have struggled at times this year. Their debut season, they've had a couple of really good results. They've had a lot of really good performances, but 3 wins is not the worst tally after 21 games for their season. They're not bottom of the league, which is a plus. The fact that it's Cork that's beneath them from a local point of view will probably be even make them even happier about that. Galway never really quite got going this year, but they could have had 7 or 8 at the weekend. Fantastic performance in goals from Maeve Williams, coupled with maybe some wasteful shooting or just a little bit wayward shooting from the Galway forwards. I think they just skimmed that crossbar 3 or 4 times and hit the post 2 or 3 times as well. Big game for them. 2 goals from Emma Doherty and a great finish from Amanda Smyth for the final one from the edge of the box into the bottom corner. 3-0, but it could have been an awful lot more. Phil Trill will be happy, but not necessarily completely happy with it.
Yeah, well, I think clean sheet and 3-0. I think you're not asking for much there, but in fairness, like you said, I think maybe they might have wanted to get a couple more on the score sheet, but really, the clean sheet is a good thing as well, and probably got a little bit of fortune. Maybe was not the best defended for the first goal, but in fairness to Emma Doherty, she was that's all good strikers. They're in the right place, ready to pounce. So she got off on the score sheet well, and like I said, Amanda Smith's goal I think was the pick of the bunch. She took her goal really well. She came on to make an impact, and that's what she did. But I think Galway have been I suppose it's hard because they were never maybe really in the title race come the business end of the season yet. They're not too far away. At the same time, they're still, they've sealed up that 3rd spot. So they'll be looking again just to push on, I think, and really stay with the top 2 next season. Probably that, I'd imagine that's going to be their aim. And probably a little disappointing maybe after they had such a good run last season too, that they couldn't maybe push on to be right up there. But definitely, a really positive season. I think at the same time they're building year after year, and I think that's the main thing, that they're staying up the right end of the table.
Yeah, we've seen obviously they won the 2 All-Ireland Cups, not this year, but the 2 years beforehand. They know what it takes to get to that stage and compete with the best players and the best teams in the country. But what do they have to do if you're planning for next season? Where do they need to strengthen? What do they need to improve to really put themselves in with those top 2 teams at the moment?
Yeah, it's difficult, really. I think maybe you could really see when Jamie Eriksson came back how much the defence had improved. So there wasn't available at the start of the season. So I think maybe I'm not sure if she'll be available next season or not. But definitely, I think it's always important to be really solid, like I said, defensively. So perhaps they might look in that direction in terms of centre back area in particular is just always a really, really vital role. And then maybe try add. Obviously, you always want goal scorers too. Emma Doherty she's right up there, and not right up the top of the goal scoring charts, but I think she's in about maybe 4th or 5th at the moment, and she's definitely would probably want to add to that tally as well. In the 1 game that's left, but I think it's always good to have more maybe attacking options too. So it's just, but again, I think like with the structure they have in place with the underage, those players are going to be feeding through anyway. You can see the likes of Emily Fitzgerald coming through, getting a bit of game time this year, and I don't think necessarily you need to always look outside of the team or even look abroad. Maybe it's just a case of waiting another season or 2 for these fresh new players just to come in and make an impact. And really all you need is 1 or 2 of them to really, really drive it on. Then if if you have them coming through already in training and that, then they'll know when they're ready to come into the first team as well.
A debut for their goalkeeper, Elizabeth Knight, came in, made her first appearance. I've no knowledge of who she is. I've no background on her. Didn't really put a foot wrong. Didn't have much to do. It was a very one-sided game, but she'll be happy, and Phil will be happy to have another option. It's not like they're running short of goalkeepers down there in Galway. They must have 8 or 9 on the books at this stage.
Yeah, I think maybe I know Abigail Renan left as well just to pursue studies too. So they definitely have a few extra, I'm sure. But yeah, it was her first, like you said, her first bit of action this season. So it's good to have competition, I think, in the goalkeeping spot, because it really drives it on, like I mentioned earlier with Athlone, having the kind of the ease of being able to just rotate player or goalkeepers in, and again, if one isn't available through injury, it doesn't impact the team either. So interesting one whether she'll be there next season or not as well, if just given her limited playing time this season. But she didn't, like I said, didn't do anything wrong in that game anyway, so she'll have done herself no harm.
Emma Doherty with 2 goals. We've seen her score goals for years in the league. How disappointed will she be with the open goal, though? She went around the goalkeeper under pressure, it has to be said, but put the ball over the bar from just inside the box with an open goal in front of her. Especially with 2 goals on the list at the end of the day, she must be disappointed not to have had the hat-trick.
Definitely. I mean, like a striker, like they all want to get, especially if they, like said, their name is on the score sheet twice already. They want to be putting those in the back of the net. But look, these things happen. I suppose just in that moment when maybe you have too much time. I don't know. It's hard to know. But yeah, she'll be disappointed with that one. But I'm sure she'll try to put it right in training again and try to forget about it, I suppose.
Yeah, she won't be spending too long. 3-0 win, as you said. It's job done. Move on to the next one, which we will do as well. Shells in action against Wexford. A case of second versus fourth in the league table on this one. Kind of went to form as you'd expect, but there's 2 really good goals in this. I thought Wexford's goal, Ella Malloy's equaliser, was fantastic. The ball through the run, she pulled it back and then just finished with a plumb into the back of the net to equalise. Mackenzie Anthony had got a fairly fortuitous one. She kind of half connected to it and went in off a defender. I can't remember who exactly went in off at the moment, but it was
I think it was Freya Demange, maybe.
It was Freya Demange, number 20.
I think that went down as an OG as far as I know. Just with the goal scoring, the golden boot race heating up.
Yeah, so
because Kelly Brady had one taken off her as well down in Cork. I think she had thought she got a hat trick, but I think it was a brace down there as well.
Sometimes they like the deflection. Yeah, it came off Demange, but it was going in anyway. And I don't know. I don't understand some of those disputed goals.
The defender definitely doesn't want those ones, and the striker does.
No, yeah, exactly. And then they give it to the other person. In terms of the performance, though, it was a late Avian Clancy goal, of course, formerly of Wexford. She's signed for Shells over the last winter. She just nipped in, got to the ball ahead of the keeper and put it past O'Sullivan. Great piece of opportunism, but it's not going to go down on her highlight reel. She's had some unbelievable strikes even this year, but it's a great goal. A bit of, I suppose have you played against teams that you've played for? Has that been, you've never really had that, have you? Because you've only really played for the one club in any one country.
No, I was never going to play for a club outside of Galway, so no.
Even when you went abroad,
sorry, like in Ireland, I mean, sorry, yeah. I know I played abroad, but yeah.
But when you played abroad, like you only played for Tuna in Sweden, and then you were in France for a little bit as well?
No, Norway. Yeah, Norway as well.
So you never played against an old team?
No, not to date yet anyway. Who knows? Maybe down the line.
Is that, you hinting at a comeback? Can we see Meabh De
Burca? I don't know, never say never. I'm still as young as I feel.
We could see you play for Treaty next year, come back to game in DC Park. Won't be let in the gate, I'd imagine. But the actual game, your thoughts on this, and I suppose how good have Shells been despite not managing to get the title back?
Yeah, they've been great. In fairness, I think that game against Athlone, the 6-pointer, we want to say, really swung it then. In that case, had they won that, we could be still talking about the title race right now. So I think actually what happened maybe was just they probably had an injury or two too many, and that's just happened that probably their squad depth was maybe just 1 or 2 players off, which only showed when the injuries happened. I think you have the likes of Roman McLaughlin even has been in and out like a lot of the season, and her quality really I think would have kind of boosted them a lot. Like you said, Aileen Clancy has been really good this season. I think her goal, I know, was probably not from the highlight reel, but at the same time she started and finished it, so I'll give her that. I think it was a neat little bit of play, and I think that's probably the one thing maybe that had, like I said, Shell's, they still have those experienced players, the likes of Pearl, Noel, Rachel Gray, and Gemma Quinn, but a lot of them hadn't, bar Pearl, probably weren't playing 90 minutes either this season a lot. So maybe that was, just having to have that kind of squad rotation a bit more. But they still had the quality, and I think they were probably just unfortunate with a couple of results didn't go their way. But I'd expect them to be right up there at the end of next season again. I don't think they'll be lying down too easily. It's not often they go a season without silverware. Obviously, they won the FAI Cup convincingly with the 6-1 win last season. So it's a rare season for them without silverware.
Yeah, I think as well, we were chatting about it a few weeks ago on the show. I think you mentioned those two, Roma and Alex Kavanagh in particular, and you can put Avian Clancy in there. Like, they brought in those, well, Alex has been there since year dot, but they brought in the other two over the last 18 months to kind of stabilize that midfield with a really good, solid group of girls. And they've only played together as a trio twice. And the second time, Alex broke her hand and had to be taken off. So, like, that's 1.5 games in the entire year they've managed to play that three, which would have been their dream three in central midfield. So when you have the players and they're not available, you may as well not have the players, so it's just been, as you said, in and out, players just not always available. I think Athlone's strength and depth is probably the difference between them winning the league and Shell's winning the league this year.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Even Kiva Keenan as well, that they lost as well through injury. So it's quality players they're losing too. They're real top drawer players. And Alex Kavanagh is such a mainstay. She already's played 200 times for Shells and still so young. So I think if it was their best 11 playing Athlone's best 11, I think Shelburne would definitely be right up there. And I just think, like I said, I think just over the course of the season, I think they were probably a little bit more unlucky with the injuries and how they happened, whereas Athlone more often than not had their full squad available as well. So, and I mean, the thing about Athlone, I think they managed their squad too. They had such a run there as well, given the obviously that they're still in the FAI Cup and they had the European competitions too, but they managed that. Obviously the last game against Glasgow, they didn't start their best team. I think they thought at 3-0 down that it wasn't worth going for it. So they obviously chose to focus on the league to get back into Europe next season, and they did that successfully, I suppose.
Yeah, you can't knock it at all. We might leave Sligo DLR because I want to kind of give out a little bit about that game to the last, but we'll stay in your neck of the woods, just down the road from you. Treaty and Bows did battle in Marketsfield, last home game for Treaty of what's been a really, really good season for Treaty, all things considered, comparing where they were 12 or 24 months ago. I don't think anyone would have predicted how impressive they've been this year. They've still lost a couple of games where they probably should have got more out of them, and they'll end up finishing probably 8th, which on the face of it doesn't look great, but on the same time, like, it's been such a vast improvement from previous years, and they've been in every single game nearly, bar maybe one or two, but they've been like competitive throughout every single game. Your thoughts on Treaty this year? Of course, last weekend they drew 1-1. They held on for a 1-1 draw with Bows. Really, Bows kind of peppered the goal, hit the post a couple of times. Ava Brennan was particularly impressive. She hit the post twice in the closing stages and set up the equaliser for Oisin McGovern from a corner. So she's had a really, really good season as well. One of my shouts for Young Player of the Year, without a shadow of a doubt. Young debutant in goal for Treaty, Ruby Lannan, had a great game. She kept out a couple of chances early on as well, kept Treaty in the game when it was level. But probably the highlight of the game has to be the strike from Ciara Breslin. Poor enough clearance, didn't deal with a cross from Bows. I think it might have been Fiona Donnelly, kind of sliced at it. It went straight to Breslin on the edge of the box, and she just took one touch and hit it inside the far post and gave the goalkeeper absolutely no chance. Rachel Kelly just had to pick it out of the back of the net. Both teams, I think Treaty will be happier with the point. Did you get to see much of this?
Well, I saw that quality strike anyway. Breslin, she did really well. I think she had to come on as well in the first half of the game. So she did well to get that one. And then McGovern is she's such a threat. She's really a towering player, and I'm sure that's something that they might focus on as well, even again with the half an eye to the cup final, is that maybe that's a way of being able to threaten Athlone is from set pieces, especially when they might be the case where they don't dominate possession, who knows. But yeah, it was a good point, I suppose, probably more so for Treaty, than Bowes. But at the same time, I think, like I said, going back to the season Treaty have had, I think they had a really, really good start, and they really were pushing right up the table in their fourth at one stage, and really looked like they could even push, be like a title threat. And then maybe just in the past, I think after after being knocked out maybe of the FAI Cup, probably knocked the wins out of the sails a little bit. I'm sure they were eyeing up a cup final as well. But so they had a few disappointing results, but then the other teams took form, like the likes of Wexford, Peamount, kind of went in a run of form, so they probably leapfrogged them a bit in the table. But overall, I think, definitely a positive season from Treaty. Obviously, another team where the manager has left before the end of the season, so it'll be interesting to see who takes over there.
What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's probably, I don't know the ins and outs of what happened, but I know it's alleged that he was saying that he wanted clarity over next season, and I'm sure as a manager, similar to Colin Fortune, that's what you'd want to have, not only for yourself, but also to try to attract players for next season. But yeah, to be honest, I don't know. That's only one side of the story. I suppose we haven't. I don't know what exactly happened. But from that point of view, if I was a coach, I suppose I'd want the clarity over that, or to be able to at least give players maybe the clarity as well for next season, because I've been in that situation where you don't know what's happening maybe, and particularly players from who aren't local, maybe it might be a bigger decision for those whether they're going to stay on. Whereas being obviously I was a local player when I played, that it mightn't have impacted me directly as much as other players who were then had big decisions to make over their next season.
I spoke about it at length on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, because I was in that situation with St. Francis back in 2010. We just come back from the Champions League, a couple of league games left, but didn't really know what the plan was for the following year. And the club were basically saying, we're not giving you clarity to the end of the season. I was like, well, and I actually just quit, because I knew I could see them writing on the wall. There was players leaving left, right, and center, and there was still a chance to keep them, maybe. But I knew they were talking to other clubs, and without clarity on what was happening or the future, they were going, well, I'm taking the concrete offer. I'm going to go elsewhere because I know that's stable, or I know that's whatever's happening. I know who's going to be in charge. And I think there's a bit of that. And I can totally see it from both sides, from the club's point of view and also from the manager's point of view. But it just feels like if the club want the manager, when he comes looking for clarity, he gets given clarity.
Yeah, I mean, again, I suppose each club is probably run slightly differently, or that. I know Athlone had mentioned they were going through financial audit, and maybe their hands were tied with that. But and similar, I don't know again with Treaty whether they wanted to do that, or with the kind of conversations that were had. I just don't know, or maybe I suppose it's hard from the outside looking in to comment too much on it. But definitely, all I know is that if you were in that situation, similar to yourself when it happened, that I think clarity and just being able to provide that consistency or clarity for the players involved as well is definitely important.
We all want stability when we're trying to progress something and move it on. I must apologise. I said that Treaty were likely to finish 8th. They're actually playing Waterford at the weekend, and on form would be expected to beat Waterford. And with Peamount and Bowes playing each other, and Shamrock Rovers home to Shells, who they haven't beaten in tally yet, they could actually, in theory, skip 2 spots in the table. They can't get 3 because either Peamount or Bowes will have to pick up points, but they probably will finish 6th or 7th in the table if they get a result against Waterford at the weekend, depending on Shamrock Rovers' result there as well. In terms of the actual game, though, anyone from Treaty, I've been impressed by a number of the Treaty players, and would definitely be in my consideration for team of the year, or even player of the year. I think Isabella Ficini, for me, has been the standout addition to the league this year. I think she's a great shout for player of the year. I think she's probably made the biggest individual impact of any player at any club. Even though some of the girls at Athlone, some of the girls at Shells have probably had arguably better seasons, but when you consider the team they started in at the start of the year, I think the impact that she has made, and she's dragged the local girls with her, the Madison McGrans, the Katie Lawleys, these young teenagers coming into that Treaty side. She just seems to have grabbed them by the scruff of the neck and dragged them with her to her level, and it's been really, really impressive to see the work that's been done down there by Sean Russell and the players themselves.
Yeah, I think if you were given an award for most influential player of the year, I think Flacchini would win it for me. Whether she's going to win player of the year, I don't think so, but I think she should be nominated or very close to it. I think Hannah Wesh for Athlone has been incredible, but like you said, I think influential and having that impact within a team. I think Flacchini has been great. Like I said, McGann as well in there. I think Katie Lawley too has had a great season for a Treaty. So they definitely have a lot of players like that. I think if they can keep that core of their squad together, I know it might be more difficult just given that they have probably more players from abroad than other teams. If they can manage to keep them together, or the majority of that team together, I think they can really be able to mount like a really like a proper challenge next season on the title, because it seems like they have a good structure in place. Obviously they just have the management situation to address and have that sorted as well for next season. But it's definitely, I think it's been an exciting season in that regard, and the likes of Treaty and Bowes have been really positive stories for the league. I know we obviously the likes of Galway, Shells, Wexford, Athlone, they've been thereabouts every season, but I think it's these ones now coming through have been a good news story for the league, as well as Waterford, obviously, who look likely not to be finishing at the bottom, or who aren't currently bottom anyway.
Yeah, of course, we do have 10 new teams next year to look forward to. I might get your thoughts before we wrap up on that as well. We move to Cork. Cork were hosting Shamrock Rovers at the weekend. Anya O'Gorman with another one, maybe not for the highlight reel, but a decent finish to set the ball rolling down in Cove, as it happened. Turner's Cross unavailable due to the weather and the condition of the pitch after Friday night's game. Jamie Thompson, though, great effort from long range. I don't think the home commentator was giving her due credit when he was saying, speculative effort. I think she meant it absolutely when she struck it, but great effort from her before a great piece of individual hustle from Christina Dring, closed down Maria Reynolds' poor, has to be said, back pass and intercepted the kick out or the kick from the goalkeeper and pushed it higher into the back of the net. Maria Reynolds then sent off later in the game. Won't be one she'll want to remember for a whole load of reasons. But as far as Steph Roach will be concerned, and you know Steph quite well from the Irish team over the years, 2-1 win, another 3 points in the bag, comfortably into the top half of the table, sets themselves up for a nice opportunity really to maybe hit that 5th place if they can get a result and Peamount slip up at Bowes at the weekend. Kind of job done. Is that really all you can kind of talk about at this stage? Like just professional, get the result, bring it home?
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, I think Steph has probably steadied the ship there with Shamrock Rovers. They had a nice cup run as well to kind of give them a bit of a boost in the second half of the season, and they've been getting some solid results, like you said, kind of finishing there, in the top half of the table is probably from where they were at the start is probably a good kind of, like I said, solid season maybe would be the way of putting it. And yeah, job done down in Cork, like I said, a bit further even for them to travel than the usual Turner's Cross, but down in not even Turner's Cross again, or Bishopstown is it, I think.
No, but is in Coleman's Park.
Oh yeah, their usual. But yeah, so I think job done, and look, 3 points again. Obviously from Cork, it's from point of view of their season, it's quite disappointing to be at the bottom of the table. But the one thing is that they have been around for years. They've won the FAI Cup in recent enough times as well, so they know that the good times maybe aren't too far away. You'd hope that they'd be able to kind of regroup again and just try to maybe bring in a little bit more talent, or again hope that coming through their underage system that they can have a few more players coming in, because I think they were lacking that maybe quality a little bit at times throughout the season. And yeah, like I said, a great finish from Thompson. I 100% think she meant it too. And yeah, good to see Christina Dring, in fairness, getting the score sheet. I'm sure it's just been a difficult season, like as a striker with the bottom team in the league. That's a hard slog. So it's good to see her on the score sheet. And of course, Anya O'Gorman, always thereabouts as well. And she's, I'm sure, happy to add to her tally. But yeah, overall, like I said, job done. I suppose maybe not whole lot more, to be said about it, but definitely pushes them up again with that 3 points up the table too.
Final game of the weekend, Sligo versus DLR Waves, 3-2 to the visitors, who took an early lead in the second minute, and Naomi Ningasi with a great finish to the back post. Sligo missed a penalty, equalised, went ahead, DLR equalised and won the game with 2 late Michelle Doonan goals. But what's disappointing is even the live stream and the highlights, the last 3 games, all not included in either, which is very disappointing. There was some messing around with replays, and whatever non-event they were showing from 30 seconds before the goals was what went out live. I don't know if that's what they were seeing, if it was maybe just some sort of a syncing mishap on their end, but none of the 3 goals, don't know what happened. Only that they were against, almost like they were against expectation of it happening. They were very quick kind of attacks, the 2 for DLR anyway, where the commentary was going, but the vision was not showing the goals. So we don't really know what to talk about them. But DLR, Sligo looked fairly solid. They missed a penalty in the first half. Paul McGrory, who did get on the score sheet in the second with a good finish at the back after a decent save by Richardson, just fell to her at the back post. But Sligo will be happy enough. Well, they won't be happy with the defeat, but the performance was much better than what we've seen from them at different stages this year. But it does consign them to at best 10th place. DLR are now 8 points clear of them, or 6 points clear of them on the league table. So Sligo more than likely will finish in that 10th place. I don't know. It's hard to see Sligo sometimes. Sometimes they can look really, really impressive, and then other weeks they just doesn't happen for them. And this was a week where they looked at really impressive at various stages through this game. Did you get to catch much of this, even though you wasn't really much to catch on the catch up?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It didn't make it easy, but I know even Emma Hansbury will be happy as well to have gotten on the score sheet too. But it does seem like that the league table, I suppose, as you look at it, nearly is kind of almost split into thirds, and Sligo, both Sligo and DLR there are comfortably in that. I wouldn't say comfortably, I don't know what word you'd use, but they're in that bottom third really, and from that point of view, I think even if teams are looking towards next season buildings like the DLR, Sligo, Waterford and Cork, I think the 4 of those, their goal for next season will be to get out of that bottom third and into the middle of the table, I think. And if any of the 4 to do that, I think that again would be seen as success. And I think that's how you kind of need to just break it down, and each team will have their goals for the season, and I'm sure Sligo didn't, finish in 10th wouldn't have been one of their goals either. And of course they could even finish, they probably end up, I think, in 10th because of their goal difference, but regardless of the results of next weekend. But yeah, it's disappointing for them because even though they're still relatively new in the league, I'm sure they'll still be kind of eager, driven like a leader like Emma Hansbury. I'm sure she'll be hungrier for more success, having had so much success in the past, and even Murren Devani as well. And there too, they have a good crop of leaders, but it's just maybe just the quality of the players around them too, and just that again, it shows, I think, the quality of the league, though, in general, how much it's moved on, that you can't just field an 11 that you need to have from start to finish. It needs to be full of quality, and if it's not, then you'll get punished. So I think they'll again be disappointed, but themselves and DLR as well, who will be looking to push on next season too, I think.
Yeah, Katie Melly, of course, had been sent off earlier in that game. For me, with Sligo, it's actually the younger girls I'm more impressed by, if that makes sense. So, like the likes of, what you're getting with the likes of Emma Hansbury, Emer Lafferty. These girls have been around. They've done it. They've done it at international level, at universities and senior level, in terms of Emma's contribution. But I'm looking at these youngsters coming through, and Rachel McGoldrick set up the first goal. She's been really impressive when I've seen her this year. Alice Lilly has been impressive over the last couple of seasons, as she's kind of broken into that team. She's still very young. I think she might not even be 18 yet. Another one that's impressed me as well is Bonnie McKiernan has been the standout goalkeeper in the league this year for me. I think there's been 3 or 4 really impressive girls. The 2 Athlone girls that you mentioned have been good, but I think Bonnie McKiernan's in that trio, maybe with Lisa Toomey from treaty as well. You could throw into that kind of 4 in consideration for like individual honours.
Maybe
Maeve Williams has kept Waterford off the bottom of the league. Absolutely. I think without her, they've conceded 65 goals this year. I think without her, you could be nearly doubling that. And I think that's not an understatement. That's just a reality of where they are in the table at the moment. And she's had a phenomenal year. But for me, I think Bonnie McKiernan has just been that touch ahead of Maeve maybe in that discussion, but it's very close. But there's some really exciting things coming through, and if they can keep it together and build on what's there and keep what's there, because the challenge is keeping the girls when they want. Like, I'm from this neck of the woods. Sligo's my local club. Effectively, I'm half an hour down the road, and there's not a lot for people when they leave school. So even you've got ATU, of course, in Sligo, but most people, if they've got serious ambitions, are aiming for maybe. They don't do medicine, they don't do law, they don't do any of the kind of the big careers that people would consider. They do engineering and all that sort of stuff, but they don't necessarily do the professional careers that some people may choose. The attraction of scholarships in the States, I know you've been down that road as well. It's a huge draw. A lot of girls gone over there. I know Pixie O'Hara and a few others have all gone to the States, or they've lost players back to the States at the end of the summer break. And that's a big loss for them as well. So it's very hard geographically to keep people around for work and for other things that are happening outside of football. So that's a big challenge, both for the men's and the women's in Sligo, but the women's are particularly feeling it. So it's a challenge. Before we go, let's just take a quick look at the league table. If we bring it up there on the screen in front of us, you see Athlone, league champions, 21 games played for everybody. They're 4 points clear, can't be caught by Shells. That, of course, confirmed over that win last week over Cork City. Galway United back on 42 points, 10 points off the top of the table. Wexford on 38. And then a clump of teams together. Peamount on 35. Shamrock Rovers and Bohemians on 34. Treaty United on 33. Before that bottom third that you spoke about, Maeve, Sligo, DLR on 18. Sligo Rovers on 12. Waterford on 9, and propping up the foot of the table as they have been for most of the season, Cork City on 8 points. But I think if we go back to the goal difference, Waterford aside, and they've had 1 or 2 big beatings, primarily at the hands of Shamrock Rovers, I think 15 goals or something like that in those games. The goal difference isn't bad. Like, we've seen seasons where the goal difference might be 4 or 5 times minus the number of games you've played, an average of 4 or 5 goals a game. Now there's only one team with 2 per game.
Yeah, definitely. And recently I was actually looking at similar in the Scottish League for women, and it is that the bottom teams are getting 4 or 5 average against them. And so in terms of that, I think from top to bottom, it's definitely a lot more competitive than an awful lot of leagues in the world. I know, people can be quick to criticize the league at times and that, but that's one thing that has definitely improved, because we all know of the days where you wouldn't even check a result because you knew that if a certain team was traveling to another team, it was a foregone conclusion. And the majority of times, or all of the times, you're right, because there wasn't competition in it. But now I think that's great, and you can see that teams are even getting points off maybe the top teams, or like that really close games that are going down to the wire, and that's improving. It has to improve. It's improving the quality of the league, but also the players then who are getting those competitive games year after year. It's it's one of the reasons I had to leave when I was younger. I was playing with Salthill Devon, and at the time when I was playing, we were the strongest team in Galway, so we didn't really get many competitive games, and our only competitive games would be in the FAI Cup, and it could be out of that after one game. So getting 1 or 2 competitive games a year just isn't enough to improve as a player. But now I think when we're providing that, it's great for the current proper players anyway.
Yeah, no, I echo those sentiments exactly. Having known you around that time, I know we've discussed that 2006 FAI Cup semi-final. I won't bring it up again. I'm sorry. But
all right, we won it soon after, so I don't mind.
Exactly. Yeah. You won one, we never did. So that's all right. In terms of the overall picture, the standard obviously is getting better, and we see these youngsters coming in, and they're more confident, they're more technically able, they're more fearless maybe at times. They're just more used to the environment of that high performance setup of playing national academies. That, like, let's be honest, yourself, the Ní Fahís that were coming through at the same time as you in Galway, you never got that opportunity. Even Julianne Russell came a year or two after you. Like, you kind of did it despite that not existing, and now that all exists for girls from 14 and 15 and probably below in terms of the emerging talent programs. I know they're done away with now, but they have existed up to now. So yeah, it's all really, really positive. In terms of the fixtures for next week, I'll run through them here quickly, and we just have a quick chat before we move on to the international break. But DLR host Galway United, Peamount host Bohemians, Waterford and Treaty will do battle down in the RSC, while Shells make the journey across town to Tala to play Shamrock Rovers. Wexford host Cork City, and Athlone Town host Sligo. Anything there immediately stand out to you, and why is it Shamrock Rovers and Shells?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the standout game. Like you said, I think Rovers haven't beaten Shells and Tala before, if I'm not mistaken, and likewise, I think Shells haven't beaten Rovers and Talca. But yeah, I mean, that adds a bit of bite, doesn't it? A Dublin derby just to finish the season. A little bit of bragging rights at stake. Obviously, no, in terms of Shelburne, that they're guaranteed to finish second, so it's not going to impact them. I'd say they'd still play a few of their younger players just to give them a run out. I know Gemma Quinn is retiring at the end of the season. She might be the only one across a lot of the teams. So, who knows, maybe in that regard, we might see a few send-offs, or I'm sure the girls themselves know, and that. So, yeah, the likes of, I think, Wexford Cork as well is another one that Wexford will be wanting to finish on a high at home, and same Waterford finishing their first season at home too will be nice. I'm sure that they'll have reason, for celebrating regardless of the result. I think they can be happy enough with the season that they've put in and the contribution they've given to the league too. And DLR at home to Galway. Again, it's just one that they'll want to try cause an upset, and Galway will want to really finish on a high as well, and like I said, to really drive on for next season. But the one on TG Cahir, Athlone, Sligo, and we talked about it earlier. I'm sure Athlone will want nothing but 3 points there as well, just to drive them into their celebrations, and on then to the FAI Cup as well next weekend, or the weekend after even.
That being said, something that would probably most to play for actually the game is Peamount and Bohemians, because both teams can finish 5th, but also both teams could finish 8th if results go certain ways. So plenty to play for. It's probably the only fixture where there's really substantial difference in terms of performances. Like, Treaty and Shamrock Rovers, if they win, they may jump a place or two. If they lose, they might drop a place. But with Peas and Bohemians, it's just got that opportunity to kind of maybe put a positive season in 5th place into a very negative season very quick, and it could happen for either of them. Yeah,
and I think from Bo's point of view, that's probably a really good dress rehearsal almost for the FAI Cup final as well. Maybe Peas, just given their form, are probably slightly favourites, maybe going into that again after winning against Athlone too. So I think that's kind of as good a game you could hope for from Bo's perspective, if they're going to try some things or their game plan, I'm sure will be quite similar to how they'll set up against Athlone as well in the final. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one, and see how Peas finish as well. I'm sure they'll want to finish with 3 points.
In terms of, I suppose, the player's point of view within a dressing room, how different does it make if you finish a season? If you come in after that game on Saturday evening and you're 5th on the table at the end of the year, or you're 8th on the table at the end of the year, does it make any kind of a difference at all, really? Or does it really kind of tint positively or negatively how the season went?
In a word, probably no. I don't know. It depends, I guess, on the goals that are set out maybe at the start of the season. If you really are, like, if 4th is a huge achievement, finishing maybe 4th for the first time with Galway, or that type of thing, then yeah, it's your goal is achieved, especially with teams that know realistically they're not in the title race, or they're not going to be in the title race, because you can't, you can be guaranteed that when the season starts, half of the team in the league aren't talking about trying to win the league, and the other half probably are, or at least trying to implement ways to do that. So yeah, I think in that regard, yeah, it probably does slightly impact it, but I don't think really, you're going to look back in a few years to come, whether you finish 6th, 7th, or 8th in a particular season, maybe isn't going to impact it. But yeah, in the here and now, I think it do. I think every kind of team want to win as much as they can and get as many points on the board. And probably the lower down the table you are, then the bigger the jump with a few points can make as well.
Absolutely. Turn our attention briefly to the international window. Of course, the team to be announced next Wednesday by Carla Ward, with the fixtures at the end of the month. 2 games against Belgium, a place in the, is it the World Cup?
The Nations League Group A, I think.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah.
Back to League A.
Yeah. How important is that for Ireland to be in League A? We had a fairly mixed bag of results when we were at that top level, but does it add to the equation to have Ireland at that level on a regular basis?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, the permutations then as well for the qualification for the World Cup would be seen as being better if you're in League A. And I think definitely just in terms of even bringing the visibility and more interest in the game, I think it's going to bring more fans to town when you're playing the likes of, like we were before, England, France and that, rather than playing lower ranked teams where you're guaranteed to get a win. And I think being in League A is definitely an advantage. The only thing, obviously, you can work on different things when you're in League B. You're going to have the ball more, so maybe you're working on your possession-based attacking play more. Whereas, obviously, defensively is what is how you're going to really have to be playing against the higher-ranked teams. But again, if we are to push on, and if a World Cup qualification is to be the goal, then you're going to have to want to be playing against the best and trying to get results against the best. So I think it'd be great to see them back in. Be a tough test. Belgium they're a tough team. I think they're actually probably one of the best draws we could have got. They're 20th in the world. We're 27th. So it's not like it's not a very daunting task. At the same time, it's going to be tough. There's no doubt about that. They've some quality players like the likes of Tessa Fuller, who plays with Inter. Obviously, they have the Euros experience behind them as well. They wouldn't have performed as they would have liked in that maybe, but at the same time, they still have that, and they have it so fresh in their memory as well that they're going to obviously feed off that experience now, and going into this playoff, they're going to be going all guns blazing as well. So we'll be up against it, but yeah, it's really exciting. I think it'll be exciting to see the squad as well that's announced too.
Expecting any changes? Will she likely make any major changes to the squad? No new faces? Anyone you feel is knocking on the door for inclusion that might get a nod this time?
It's hard to know in this camp in particular whether it's one to bring in new faces. Maybe in terms of for training. Obviously Kelly Brady's has her hand up if she's scoring goals and has the Irish passport, has played for Ireland underage too. But I don't know if she'd be called in this camp in particular. But she's definitely on the radar. She was in the development group back in February, I think was the last time that was together. So I don't expect there'll be a lot of changes. It'll be interesting to see, will she, I know there's players there without clubs, the likes of Megan Campbell, the likes of Rucha Littlejohn has just moved clubs, didn't play at the weekend, that type of thing. Whether she'll, it's hard to know, because I think sometimes at international level as well, there's more loyalty maybe as well, and I think that can be a good thing. From camp to camp as well. That's what I think Carla Ward will be basing her opinion on. So I don't expect there to be huge changes, but there's always probably one or two maybe who you'd be interested to see, or whether, again, we always have the eye on the league, whether the likes of Aoibhinn Clancy will be called in. I think Alex Kavanagh now, unfortunately, I don't think will be available. Ella Malloy, I think, has been doing really well too lately. So whether they'll be called in remains to be seen, but hopefully they will, because obviously it's good to have that representation.
Absolutely. Well, just to finish up the show, we have had news sent to us today that the FAI have announced the second year of their program for teenage girls to keep them involved in football, called In Her Boots, and it's coordinated by Shell's captain Pearl Slattery. Is her full-time job within the FAI. So it's a scheme that's there to encourage girls from 9 to 16 to stay involved in sport. And I suppose, Maeve, you've been that soldier on both sides of it, in terms of getting kind of yourself staying involved in sport and watching other girls younger than you coming after you, and some of them staying and some of them drifting away. It can be a very fickle decision in your teenage years to kind of opt out of sport for social reasons or peer pressure, or because it's just not seen to be cool. But it's a great life skill for anybody coming up through the ranks of any sport, whether it's obviously football, but there are other options out there as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the important thing really is that it's not just the elite level too. It's about, staying in sport for many other reasons. Obviously, we know the elite, the opportunities elite sport can bring it, and that's great. But there's so many more other benefits to sport outside of that. Even obviously the physical side of it, but then mental side of it too, and what that can bring. Particularly, these days there's so much pressure on teenagers, both boys and girls. But I think girls as well are really under a lot of different stresses, and I think sport can be a good release for that. And I think that in her boots program is really good. There was one run here recently as well in Galway by Emer Flatley, who's the development officer here, and obviously I know her for years, but people have spoken really highly about the program, and especially I think for maybe people who possibly mightn't have as much experience within the women's game, for male coaches as well, just that they're exposed to different information and just different types of strategies that help them and better equip them as well as they try to progress the women's game too.
Yeah, you stole my thunder. The press release has a photograph attached to it. Emer Flatley is on the right hand side. The bank smack in the middle is Julianne Russell, and Claire Conlon, who I'm sure you're familiar with as well from the FAI. So it's great to see that program. It's a program for the coaches of girls. So people who are working with girls teams, get yourselves out. They've been involved with 2,000 people last year, which is huge in 12 months. If you can increase that again next year and add to it, you could be looking at a total of 4,500, 5,000 coaches working with grassroots across the country. So it's a phenomenal achievement. So hats off to everyone in the FAI, in particular to Pearl Slattery and her team involved, and the likes of Emer, who's well known in this parish as well. I'm not sure if we had her on the show. We might have done at some stage, but former Universities International herself, not a bad player down the years for Galway over the years either. Maeve, that's it. I know you're rushing out the door to get to Gaelic training. You've seen lots of publicity about you in the last few weeks. You've been in all the papers. You must be pulling up trees in Galway in the senior championship.
I don't know. Yeah, we've one game left now in the season. It's the junior county final this weekend. So we'll be hoping to finish on a high. We had a really successful, I think, season with Salthill, but I was injured for a lot of it and unavailable for some of the championship. But definitely really enjoyed it. I had played a lot with St. Michael's, my local club, and just couldn't field a team last year, so I made the move just across to the next parish where I had played for my teenage years too. So it's not too far away, but some great people involved, great coaches and players too. So just enjoying learning, picking up something new, I think, still at my age in every training. So we can't really complain.
Perfect. Well, listen, thanks for joining us in Aaron's absence this week. We will chat to you soon, no doubt, and enjoy your training session out there in the dark, in the wet and the wild in County Galway and Salthill. I don't envy you is all I'll say on that. For everyone else who's joined us this week, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we'll be back again next week with another show looking at all the action from the final round of games. Wherever you're getting out to a game, enjoy it, and we will chat to you again next week. Talk to you then.